Hi, everybody. I'm so glad to see you. Thanks for joining me today. Thanks for watching my live stream. I'm Ksenia Trukova, and I want to remind you that every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Washington time, I'm doing my live streams. I go in there to talk to you about all kinds of events in Russia and Ukraine, and we are analyzing those events together. I'm trying to explain you some things you might probably the events, the things you don't know, and of course we are talking about language, and I'm trying to analyze the events from the language point of view because I'm a linguist. I'm a philologist. So please join me, ask the questions, and share your ideas. Give me some ideas about like what to talk, and I use some of your ideas. That it's very helpful. So please, guys, post your comments under this video. After this live stream comes to the end, if you didn't have a chance to post in the chat, or I didn't have time to read your message in the chat, please leave your comment under the video, and I will reply you, or I will please share your ideas, as I said before, and maybe I will talk about what you suggested to talk about. Actually, that happened last time. So please tell me, where are you watching me? Who is watching me? I'm glad to see you, and tell me a little bit about your weekend. What did you do? As usual, I will tell you a little bit about my weekend, and then we will go to the main topic of today's live stream, which is banning LGBT organization in Russia. There is no such an organization. We will talk about that, and we will talk about homophobic rhetoric in the Russian politics, and in Russian media, and in general in the Russian society. But before that, tell me a couple of words about yourself. Where are you watching me? And also tell me about your weekend. What did you do this last weekend? I will tell you a little bit about what I did. Maybe if you know, I told you before that I teach kids. I'm a Russian language instructor, so I teach bilingual kids who want to maintain to keep their native language, and I teach Russian at the weekend Russian school, and I have a class of journalism. So all the kids, teenagers, I teach them journalism in Russian, and it's quite a challenge because they're bilingual, as I said before, and it's more difficult than to teach children who are native speakers, who are not bilingual, but at the same time, it's more interesting and more challenging, if you will. So I took a group of my kids, my journalist class, to the National Gallery of Art in DC, in Washington, DC. And I advise you guys to see this exhibit I will be talking about. So I took them to the exhibition of an American documentary photographer and photojournalist, Dorothea Lange. She was a very famous American photographer, and she is best known for her Depression era work for the Farm Security Administration. And Lange's photographs influenced the development of documentary photography in general. And the exhibit is very interesting. I didn't know much about her, and to be honest, I didn't know about her at all. I just read the announcement on Facebook that there will be such a guide tour, and so we went to the National Gallery of Art, and we talked. I talked to my kids about what is the difference between art and photography. Is photography we consider it art, and so on. And as a teacher of journalism class, I talked to them about the role of the photojournalist in general, and how different photojournalists, they covered different events, the wars, and we discussed some ethical questions when you are taking pictures of people, and especially people who are going through some tragedies. So this is a very, very interesting topic, and it was interesting for my kids. I hope, actually, they told me it was very interesting, and they want another field trip. So I'm thinking about it already. And if you have some ideas where to take them, maybe to some museum, but it should be related to journalism. Maybe I will take them to the Museum Planet of Word. It's a new linguistic museum in Washington, D.C. It was opened like 3 years ago or something, during pandemic, or right after the pandemic. I don't remember. So I'm thinking about the next location. So that was the highlight of my last weekend. Okay, hello from Canada. My weekends are filled with studying still. What are you studying? Tell us, please, about that. I'm a teacher too. I teach graphic design and photography. So you have state standards that you have to follow as well. Mine fall under visual arts. Visual arts is not my area at all, because I'm a journalist, first of all, and we're talking about creating texts, creating content, and I'm a multimedia journalist, so I can talk to them about how to create an audio podcast and how to create a video package and the rules of creating a video package. I'm not talking about video editing, but the components of the video package, how to do, how to be a reporter, and of course, we discuss, as I said before, different ethical questions related to that profession, to the professional of journalism. We discuss some hypothetical situations that could happen, and how what choices they can make, and they can make in those situations. Um, Weekends are for grocery shopping, laundry, cooking, and participating. Operator Starsky and different bloggers. Yes, unfortunately, I cannot compete with them on weekends, and also my weekends are pretty packed, so I don't have time for live streams on weekends. That's why I decided to do this midweek live stream to discuss the events of the last week, and the events of this week. So it's just the midweek live stream. And So thank you for your messages very much. So let's go to the main topic we're going to discuss today, and it's the situation with banning so-called international LGBTQ movement in Russia. As I said before, there is no such a movement. You know that Russia marks LGBTQ people as some kind of institution, because in Russia they think it's some organization, extremist organization. So they labeled them, all LGBT people, as an extremist organization, and it's official. Russia's Supreme Court has declared what it called the International LGBTQ Movement an extremist organization, and banned all activities associated with it in the country. And right after that, Russian security forces raided gay clubs and bars across Moscow. It was Friday night. It happened Friday night, less than 48 hours after the country's top court banned what it called the global LGBTQ movement as an extremist organization. And it's very difficult now for the independent Russian-speaking media to cover what is going on in Russia, because it's dangerous. And we talked about that in my previous live stream and in my videos, that it's dangerous for the journalists for the real journalists to stay in Russia, and to keep covering the events, to keep the standards of journalists. So it's basically impossible in terms of all the restrictions and new laws Russia has implemented since the beginning of the full-scale invasion. And of course, it's difficult to get any information from Russia and from the Moscow, for example, about what happened in those clubs. I mentioned that there were some raids in the gay clubs and bars across Moscow, but still some of the independent Russian media, and one of them is Verstka. If you are interested in it, I can post a link to this Russian media, also in exile, as all Russian independent media exist now. So Verstka, they still have some people, some journalists in Russia. They work anonymously, and they provide some information. They still provide some information from there. So Verstka published a story about what was going on in those gay clubs, and I will give you a quote. One of those who were there was a guy called Leonid, and the journalists talked to him, and he describes this evening as one of the most terrible evenings in his life. Leonid told journalists that he was near the exit from the establishment, near the exit, and saw the police entering. He ran to the dressing room for a jacket, and when he returned to the doors, they were already closed and no one was allowed out. And this is a quote from what Leonid said to the journalist, then we were all told to strip down to our underpants. I didn't hear it, I just saw how everyone was undressing, and I did the same. For half an hour, we stood near the wall with our pants down. They didn't explain anything to us. They didn't answer our questions. I realized that I was not a person. So I had an impression, he says, I was not a person, that I had no freedom, that now I was nobody in my native country. End of quote. So that was an extract from the story published by Verstka, an independent Russian news outlets. So what does it mean? What does it mean that they banned so-called international LGBTQ movement, that they labeled it as an extremist organization? First of all, and it's obvious, it means that the repressions in Russia continues against all kinds of freedoms and rights and freedoms of human rights and freedoms, and it will be worse and worse. And that's now to be an LGBT person in Russia, it's a crime. It's very dangerous for those people to stay there if they are like open LGBTQ people. And that's what happens in authoritarian regimes, and Putin just follows what already happened in history. The same thing was done by Hitler, and we can name some other examples. So, as I said before, it's pretty obvious. A second thing is that, as I said, there is no such a movement. So, in the minds of Russian politicians, in the minds of those who are in Kremlin, Putin, and people who is surrounded with. So, in their minds, you need some organization to be an LGBTQ person. So it's not for them. It's not the matter of like your nature. It's some kind of institution or some kind of club of interest. So you understand what I'm trying to say, that in their minds, because they don't see it as a nature of a person, as a nature of people, they see it as some kind of organization, and of course they think that Western countries have something to do with it. So they organized, they are behind that international extremist organization, some kind of institution, that suspicious club, so Western countries are behind that. And if that is the main, here come to the main narrative of Russian propaganda, that if NATO soldiers will be in Russia, they will turn everybody into some sexual perverts or pedophiles, or because a lot of Russian politicians in their statements, they equal the LGBT people and pedophiles, for example. So there is no difference for them. That's that kind of rhetoric you can hear in Russia, and I want to emphasize that Putin is very, very uneducated in this area. I told you before when we talked about Putin's language and how he how he speaks to people, to the Russian people. And if you remember, I compared him with Alexei Navalny, Russian opposition leader, and I said that Putin's manner of speech is very, very archaic and outdated. Yes, his Russian language is pretty good. He knows how to use grammar properly, and he pronounces all the words correctly. But at the same time, he doesn't know how to speak to the young audience, because he is very, very archaic and outdated. He doesn't know how to make a proper joke, because all his jokes are racist, homophobic, and sexist and stuff like that. And the young audience they just don't connect. And it's already proven. He tried it many times, and he couldn't find this common language with the young audience. And the same thing with this. So he doesn't know how to talk about certain things, such internet, for example. He is very uneducated in this area, technologies and internet. Absolutely uneducated, and he's very uneducated in the area like about sexual education and gender. In some institutions in Russia, they even ban the word gender from the researchers. So if a person is doing some research about gender, is related somehow to the gender, they ban it in some universities, some institutions. So because even the word gender they see as some suspicious word and some Western bad influence and something like that. So Putin doesn't know anything about that, and as I said before, he is very, very outdated and archaic. And I will give you some quotes. I'm sorry about that. I will give you some quotes. So what he said about LGBTQ people in general in different periods of times, and what kind of jokes he made. First of all, you probably remember that maybe the most famous joke, so-called joke, Putin's joke, when he talked to the film director Oliver Stone, when Oliver Stone was making a documentary about Putin, and Oliver Stone asked him a question. It was a provocative question. He did it on purpose, but still. So he asked him a question. What would you do if you happen to be with a gay person in the shower? And Putin replied, well, I know judo, so martial arts. And if you think about this answer, what kind of answer is that? So his first thought is that he will need martial arts if he meets a gay person. So in his mind, this is his twisted logic. In his logic, if he happens to be in a shower with a gay person, he thinks that he's Putin, that he's so attractive and sexy that the gay person will immediately attack him, first of all. So this is his logic. And the second layer of this weird answer is that violence is the first thing that comes to his mind. He has a lot of violence in his rhetoric. and especially sexual violence in particular. You remember what he said about Ukraine, and we talked about that as well. Like, you like it or not, but you should be patient, my beauty. It was a quote uh, uh, from a song. He said it about Ukraine, and it was a quote from the song about necrophilia. He has a lot of violence in his speech in general. So when he says, "Well, I know martial arts," we understand that some kind of attack, like violence, it's first thing that comes into his mind. First, he thinks that he is very attractive, for apparently for everybody, for men and women. There's no question for him. And the second thing, the person will attack him, and he will need some kind of martial arts. So that what you it's a very like small phrase he said, but in that phrase we see Putin, we see what is in his mind. We can analyze, so we can open his head a little bit, like the pot, and we can see what is boiling there. And it's a very disturbing picture, to be honest, as you can see. So let me give you some other quotes. Uh, this is another quote from Putin. They say that Pyotr Ilyich Tchaikovsky, Russian composer, was a homosexual. However, we do not love him for this. However, we do not love him for this. But he was a great musician, and we all love his music. So what? Said Putin. Also, Putin called Elton John an outstanding person and musician. Then he added, millions of people here love him sincerely, despite his sexual orientation. So in his mind, again, it's some kind of obstacle. So if you sincerely love a musician or a writer or an actor, and you love him despite of his sexual orientation, so there is no logic, but it's a special Putin's logic. In 2019, Vladimir Putin was outraged by the large number of genders, he knows that word apparently, used in the Western countries, and he said the following phrase: "Now there is too much, so much. 6 or 5 genders were invented," said Putin. "Transformers, trans. I don't even understand what it is," Putin said. He doesn't know the word transgender, so he already twice used the word transformers. Uh, it's again about language, again about, maybe he did it on purpose to show the disrespect to those people. Maybe he did it on purpose, but maybe I believe that he's not educated in this area, and he's not ashamed of that. He's actually proud of that, as unfortunately a lot of Russian people are. Uh, also in 2017, I remember that moment when Ukraine was finally granted visa-free travel to the European Union. The president of Ukraine, Petro Poroshenko, hailed it as a final break with the Russian Empire. He gave a speech and he quoted, Petro Poroshenko likes quoting famous writers a lot. So he quoted 19th century Russian poet Mikhail Lermontov. With this, he quoted him with a smile, and he said, "Farewell, unwashed Russia." It's the title of the one of the most famous Lermontov's poems, and the full quote is, "Farewell, unwashed Russia, the land of slaves, the land of lords, and you blue uniforms of gendarmes, and you obedient to them folks, obedient people, like police and obedient people." So Poroshenko quoted this poet, and Putin punned on the word blue as you just heard, I said blue uniforms, blue uniforms. And Putin picked on that word, blue, which also means gay in Russian. But this is very, very, very outdated slang. So I heard this word, people used it when I was in elementary school. So it was long time ago, believe me. Uh, uh, and it's not, people don't use it anymore. It's such an outdated slang. Uh, nobody will use it. And Putin picked on that word, and he said, um, so he punned on the word blue in Lermontov's poem to suggest that Ukraine should beware because there are actually more gays in Europe than in Russia. In fact, he said, probably Petro Alexeyevich Poroshenko wanted to show his voters that he is carrying out his promises, making a civilizational choice, as the Ukraine leadership now says, a civilizational choice to take the country into Europe. By the way, there are many more blue uniforms. He meant gay people than there than here. So he shouldn't relax too much, and just in case, he should keep a look, he should keep an eye like on himself. He should look out about him. Again, we see that hint of violence here. He shouldn't relax too much. So what are uh, gay people going to do with Petro Poroshenko? In Putin's mind, they were going to do something bad to him. Again, twisted logic, twisted, and that ugly vision of the world. I don't know how to describe it better. So Putin had a lot of quotes like that. He made a lot of statements like that. He made a lot of jokes like that. And as I said before, unfortunately, a lot of people laugh to his jokes, and a lot of people, they like it. They think it's cool. That he's a cool guy and he can talk with them using like their own language. Again, I want to emphasize it. It's not the language of the youth in Russia. It's like middle-aged people and older generation. So Putin found that a common language with them. That's why a lot of people like him and like his specific sense of humor. So Putin has maintained that homophobic rhetoric for years, and of course we see some result. I will talk about the polls, the polls in Russia, what people think about it. But first of all, let me look at the chat again. Привет всем, привет. On the one hand, it seems so aimless. There is not master gay leading a group or gay subordinates. On the other hand, the targeting of community groups, clubs, etc. is devastating. Past homophobia, those are community and social resources being wiped out for no good reason. This reminds me of a woman who said she felt not like a person but a worm during the ongoing bombing of Mariupol, from the Deutsche Welle documentary Mariupol during the first months of the Russian invasion. Yes, Cheryl, you are right that they treat people that way, not only during the war. They treat people that way in their own country, and as I said before, they take away all the human rights. Okay. Women's judo was not allowed in the Olympics until 1992 because, among other reasons, the organizers believe it could encourage lesbians. So that comment is a little bit ironic. I thought the Russian slang for gay was zolotoy. No, you're not right. Blue, голубой. It's blue. Also, if you're using the word sini or голубой, as I said before, are these violent attitudes a hangover from Gulag culture? Yet I hear sexual violence toward both men and women is common in Russian prison culture. Yes, yes, it's common. Sexual violence and violence in general, like just physical violence against men and women, is very common in Russian prison culture. That's true. So what do people think about it? The latest polls. Well, I didn't see any like latest polls, but here's the one I found from 2019, made by Levada Center. It's the independent sociology center. They conducted a survey on the attitude of Russian towards LGBT people. 56% of respondents said that they had a negative attitude towards LGBT people. 31%, so 56, negative attitude, 56, more than a half. And it was in 2019. 31% of respondents said that they would stop communicating with an acquaintance if they found out about his homosexual orientation. The numbers show that people's opinions are polarizing. So 31%, they will stop communicating if they know that if they know about homosexual orientation. So people follow that homophobic rhetoric, unfortunately, and Russia is very homophobic country, and those new laws and new decisions of the Supreme Court, they of course they make it they don't make it better. They make the situation worse. With the new laws, the situation became completely absurd. And I will tell you a couple of stories. Those stories happened before the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, but it's still that rhetoric was always there. And in Russia, they already had a law against. I'm trying to translate it in my mind from the Russian language. The law against propaganda, like gay propaganda. And since the definition, like the description is very vague, you can, Russian officials, they can view as propaganda anything. And that's what happened. So first of all, they started, it was before like big sanctions against Russia, so they started cutting some pieces, significant pieces from the movies. For example, you've probably seen the movie Rocketman about Elton John. And not only the erotic scene of same-sex love was removed, but also the final credits stating that Elton John had finally found happiness with his husband David Furnish, he's happily married and has two children. That was also removed. So if you remember, at the end of the movie, they have credits saying that he was married, had children, and he found his happiness. So they cut it. And if you cut things like that from a movie like that, what will the viewers understand at all? So you cut like the significant part, and that's what happens with a lot of movies and series, because they are all afraid of that law about gay propaganda. And now they have a restriction, they have the decision of Supreme Court in Russia, and it's just dangerous. So people will put themselves in danger if they show something like that. But sometimes nobody tells people what to do, but they are so afraid of everything that they just do like self censorship. For example, a couple of weeks ago, this is a recent story, the TNT music channel in Russia removed the rainbow from the God of Music video by the K-pop group 17. TV viewers noticed this. Instead of a bright picture, black and white appeared on the video. So in the original, in the second half of the track, the participants perform the chorus against the background of a blue sky and the rainbow. In the version that was shown on Cake Pop Time, at this point in the clip, a part of the picture turned black and white. The rainbow disappeared from the screen. So everything was in color except the rainbow. It became black and white and then disappeared. And that was the typical story about self-censorship, because people just decided to do it because they thought, oh, what if they think that we are doing like some gay propaganda? We are showing rainbow. Let's just cut it and show it black and white just in case. That's and people, you asked me a question like, does it come from Gulag era, from the Soviet era? Yes, it all come from Gulag and from that mentality, from that Soviet mentality. Uh, People are afraid of everything. People are self-censoring their products and what they do. They are so they are doing things just in case. And there is a very good expression in Russia. I don't know how to translate it, but it's something like just in case, and it's from the Soviet era. Yes, this mentality is still there, and repressions here are there again. And one more story about the rainbow. That story is from 2020, so 3 years ago. The head of the Women's Union of Russia, Ekaterina Lachova, complained to Putin about the influence of rainbow ice cream and multicolored billboards about children. Uh, she said that ice cream and those billboards with rainbow promote non-traditional values. And there was really an ice cream called Rainbow, just a colorful ice cream. She said, today we have billboards, for example, that display rainbow, beautiful colors, explained the head of the Women's Union of Russia. It seems to be invisible with beautiful words. Or they advertise ice cream, which is also called rainbow, consume this ice cream, and so on. Therefore, this is indirect, but still makes our children get used to the color. Get used to the color. Think about this phrase. To the flag that was hung in. They were talking about the flag that was hang out out of the window of the American embassy. It was 3 years ago, and so what she's saying, what is she basically saying, that by eating this colorful ice cream called rainbow, you infect yourself with the Western values, bad values, by eating ice cream. That it's just, I don't know how to even comment on that. And also those who are against the war, people who are against the war, especially public people who leave the country, who leave Russia, because they don't want to stay in the country anymore. For example, if some of them, I don't let me put it this way. So Russian propaganda uses homophobic rhetoric against anti-war people, against people who are leaving the country because of the war, because they disagree with what is going on, no matter what their sexual orientation is. It's just being used as a tool because, again, in the minds of Russian politicians, in the minds of Russian propagandists, it's something bad. So if you want to, if you will, punish a person who left the country, if you want to label him as a traitor, you can just add to it that maybe he was homosexual, maybe she was a lesbian, or something, and you just add those speculations, or some of them are open, gay people, so you just add those speculations as something bad for the audience, and they do it for the Russian audience. In the eyes of that audience, it is something bad. So no wonder some person left and went to some Western countries, because they are from that LGBTQ organization, extremist organization. So no wonder they betrayed their motherland, and they use all kinds of hate speech against them. And so you can hear all this on Russian TV. For example, there was a story There is a very famous Russian actor and comedian, Maxim Galkin, super famous, superstar. And he's married to the cult Russian, Soviet and Russian singer Alla Pugacheva, like the star number one for many generations. And when the war, when the full-scale invasion started, they left Russia. They openly disagreed with that, and they said that they are against the war, so they left Russia. And immediately, that actor Maxim Galkin, who was welcomed at every TV channel, and everybody liked him, in an instant he became an enemy for the Russian propagandists. And what kind of rhetoric they used against him? They said on the state TV that Maxim Galkin, he's hiding, he is a gay. So they use that rhetoric against him as it's something bad. So they said bad things about his family and about the difference in the age he has with his wife. So all kinds of dirty stuff. But I was amazed how they use that homophobic rhetoric against anti-war people. So, as I said before, in their minds, it's something bad. They can label person or explain the same thing, and is anti-Semitism in Russia. Absolutely the same thing. So if they don't like what some person does, for example, again, we can pick as an example, take as an example those people who are against the war. They can say that they're Jews. Because again, it explains everything. Why is this or that actor or actress? Why they left Russia? Why they disagreed with Vladimir Putin, with our president? It's obvious because they are Jews, or their parents were. Yeah, I can't even say those things without laughing, although it's not funny at all. It's actually sad, and it's dangerous for people who are still staying there. But it's just such an absurd situation, especially in the modern world. In nowadays, I can't imagine how people can even operate with the terms like that and explain bad in their eyes, the acts that are bad in their eyes, explain it by nationality or sexual orientation or something like that. But that is something that happens in Russia all the time, and every day you can hear it on the state TV and read it in the newspapers. So let me get back to the chat. Oh, a lot of messages. I need to get back to it. Where did I stop last time? So Putin really means it. It's not an act to suck in American conservatives. The opposite of virtue signaling. Yes, there is the training camp of Third Separate Assault Brigade of Azov and Kiev, one of the most honored and heroic defenders of Ukraine. Visit that place and ask real patriots what they think about it. Um, this person is the one who wants to split our society with non-existent problems. What person are you talking about? Uh, okay, Azov were traditional, original, very right wing, which is true, yes. And when the war began, they accepted gay and Jewish fighters as members, yes. Um, Okay, thank you for the messages, and I'm slowly going to some conclusion. Why do they need all that? Why does Putin? Uh, why is Putin pushing that homophobic rhetoric right now, right before the elections? Why does he need it? Why is it so important right now? And I read an explanation, one of the explanations in the post of one of the most popular Ukrainian bloggers, YouTubers, Ivan Yakovina, and I want to read it for you. I think it explains a lot. So let me just read this post. In the absence of success at the front line in Ukraine, he means. So in the absence of success at the front and in the economy, Putin is going to the elections under the gray flag of the fight against LGBTQ people. This topic, plus the ban of abortion in some Russian regions and increasing the birth rate, this is one of the main topics as well in Russia, will become the main focus of his election campaign. So, Ivan Yakovina, he says that fight against LGBTQ people, abortion ban, and increasing the birth rate. So these are topics of Putin's election campaign. Isn't it weird? Why is he focusing on that? And here is the thing, says Ivan Yakovina, after a quarter of a century in power, Putin has absolutely nothing to offer the people except forbidding adults to love whoever they want and give birth as many as they want. Any other area of life is collapse and failure. Science, space, international relations, sport, art, economy, the status and position of the Russian Federation in the world. Everything is screwed up and fucked up. In general, nothing was achieved, nowhere and nothing. Even the war, which was intended to become a magical source of life giving legitimacy for the regime, turned into a dull, slow, but sure grinding of the Russian people without any meaning of result. The Kremlin doesn't even want to remember about it before the election. And this is also true. The different investigation, journalistic investigations, and the articles they published, they say that they confirm that Kremlin doesn't want to talk about the war before the elections, like at all. So those people who are going to the elections on the different levels in different regions, they are not using war in their election campaign. Because people are tired of war, and we're talking about that protest movement that is growing in Russia, that women movement. So people they're very irritated by what is going on, and they don't want so the politicians don't want to talk about that. It will be very interesting, by the way, what Putin is going to talk about during his press conference, which is next week, December. By the way, it will be, I think, on Wednesday, because it's December. Wait a minute. No, it's Thursday. It will be on Thursday, December 14th. So maybe I will reschedule my midweek live stream for Thursday. So we will see, because it will be interesting how what he is going to talk about during his press conference, and this communication session with people, because he probably doesn't want to talk about the war. So what if he doesn't have any success in any area? What to talk about? Fight against LGBTQ people. There is no other agenda. This is a conclusion of Ivan Yakovina, and I agree with him that Putin has absolutely nothing to offer people now. He has absolutely nothing to offer. So he goes to the election. He wants to be reelected under that flag of the fight against people's private lives. So that's what is going on, and it's another sign that Russia is absolutely authoritarian country, that it's a dictatorship, and it's dangerous for people to stay there. Okay, let me look at the chat. Okay. Thank you so much for watching me. If you have any questions right now, I can still read them. If you Okay. Is there any realistic opposition to Putin's rule politically? So, uh, what do you mean? Like real opposition in Russia? No, it doesn't exist because real opposition in Russia is in prison. All the opposition leaders are in prison. So there is no opposition at all. If you mean, are there any like people potentially? I don't think so either that they can do anything now in Russia. But we can talk about it in my next live stream. So maybe you can offer some topics, what to talk about. Thanks for watching me today, and see you next Wednesday. Bye.